There are two players at Arsenal that are just standout elite, world-class players that never seem to have a bad game. The first one is Saliba, who we've already done a video on, and the second one is Declan Rice. And Declan Rice is now making the £105 million price tag Arsenal paid for him look like a bargain. Now, we know Declan Rice is a phenomenal player from what he did at West Ham. And I said back in the summer, as a Man United fan, if I could sign any three players, it would have been Harry Kane, Declan Rice, and Diogo Costa. It was a little bit of a toss-up between Declan Rice and Caicedo back then, but I went for Declan Rice. Right now, it would 100% be Declan Rice if I could get a time machine. And he could be the signing of the season, because a lot of 100 million signings don't work out. And in today's video, we're going to break down why he's perfect for Arteta, why he's been so good for Arsenal, how he's evolved and he's a different kind of player to how he is at West Ham, how he's going to improve Arsenal. And you've also got to think about maybe someone like Douglas Luiz coming in to partner Declan Rice. So we're going to talk basically about why Declan Rice is just an absolute joke of a player in terms of just how good he is. And as you can see, Arsenal have the lowest XG conceded in the league this season at 9.4, and that is Declan Rice. You can talk about Saliba, brilliant, but that is Declan Rice's ability to cover lots of ground, get in the space, position himself so well between the lines of the players and just intercept every ball to stop teams attacking Arsenal. He has been phenomenal at that. We're going to talk about that later on. And it's basically been said, Declan Rice, he has no weaknesses. His strengths are passing, long shots, he's coming in and getting involved further up, getting goals for Arsenal, but he's got no weaknesses. And the one thing about Declan Rice, and I've said this about Saliba, is does he ever have a bad game? I think Saka's a phenomenal player. I think Martinelli's a phenomenal player, but sometimes they have a bit iffy games here and there, which is normal as a young player, particularly an attacker. But Declan Rice has not had a bad game. Even last year when Casemiro was phenomenal for United, he still had a few bad games. Declan Rice has not had a bad game for Arsenal, even when they lose to Newcastle, 7.5 rating. Man City, man of the match. When he played Man United, he was man of the match. He could arguably be man of the match against Chelsea. The big teams, he's putting in man of the match performances, even if the rest of the team isn't playing well. And I was looking at comments on a recent video on Declan Rice, and people are saying, even though they rated him, they thought the price tag of 105 million was a joke, it was too much, and now they say they're wrong. This guy was 105 million, they are wrong. Nobody's questioning his price tag. There's a lot of players, everyone's going 110 million Moises Caicedo. No one is questioning Declan Rice's price tag now. So let's talk about Declan Rice. Firstly, why Arteta wanted him, why he was so good at West Ham, why he's fitting really well at Arsenal, why he's so good for Arsenal, and why he's such a good player. Please do hit that like button if you haven't already, and let's get into the analysis. So this was some statistics on Declan Rice, and I got this from Data MB. Definitely check out the Data MB website and Twitter account. They post really good analysis on stuff. And they said among all midfielders in all comps in 22-23 when he's at West Ham, Declan Rice ranked first for duels won and first for defensive duels won. We know Declan Rice was a defensive genius at West Ham. He was the guy that would stop all the counter-attacks. He was the guy that would protect the back four. Defensively, winning the ball back, interceptions, tackles. There was no better DM than Declan Rice. Obviously, Arsenal's a much more attacking team than West Ham, so his defensive responsibilities will be less at Arsenal and his attacking responsibilities will be more, but we're going to talk about how he's adapted to attacking responsibilities. Data MP said defending, not only is Rice elite at ground duels, but he shines in his defensive actions, tackles, interceptions, and possesses incredible aerial ability. Successful defensive actions per 90 versus aerial duels won. You can see that Declan Rice is very much near the top there with the likes of Palhinha, Kamara, and Rodri. Even beating Rodri for successful defensive actions and beating a lot of big players there as well. You can see how good Casemiro was last season and how much he's dropped off as a United fan, which is frustrating. But Declan Rice has always been phenomenal. I keep saying that word even though I could barely pronounce it. Anyway, it wasn't just his defensive ability. Declan Rice's passing is actually outrageous. People always spoke about Declan Rice's defensive ability, but his passing was outrageous. This is his long passing versus forward passing. As you can see, he's that little pink dot in the corner there. He's in like pretty much the 95th or 96th percentile for accurate long passes and accurate forward passes. He is phenomenal. The way he keeps the ball, he can keep the ball moving with accuracy, is what makes him a stand-up player, because you can be a fantastic DM defensively, which Declan Rice is, but Arteta's a possession-based manager. He'll want a fantastic DM on the ball, and that's exactly what Declan Rice brings. He's brilliant on and off the ball. Both his forward pass accuracy and long pass accuracy blow competition out of the water, showing he can do it all. But his composure and retention, even when playing the risky balls, out of this world. And he's, again, up in that sort of 98th percentile for accurate passes into the final third. And he's also in that sort of 92nd percentile for accurate forward passes While at West Ham, where he wasn't getting crazy amounts of the ball, you can see again that pink dot is Declan Rice on the screen. It's a very small pink dot, but that is Declan Rice and how elite he was and how he could do it all. But it's not just about passing. It's not just about tackling. It's not just about interception. It's not just about the duels he won. It was also about his ability to carry the ball. He had all of these qualities, but he could carry the ball 75th percentile for progressive carries, which is still very, very high. And he had all of these top characteristics. And as you can see there, he's up with the likes of Verratti, Modric, Rodri, Frankie de Jong, all these elite midfielders for things like carrying. And Declan Rice is such a technically good player because he can do it all, has the athleticism to cover the ground, which we're going to talk about. He has the ability to intercept the ball, read the game. He's defensively solid. He can win his duels because he's physical, but he can pass the ball well. He's great in possession. He's calm in possession. He's press resistant. He's really good at dropping deep, getting the ball off the centre-backs and carrying it forward, which is exactly what Mikel Arteta would want his players to do. Similar to Rodri as well. And Data MP mentioned this. There was only 2 midfielders in the top 5 leagues last season, had more than 2,000 minutes, that were actually doing more than 1 dribble per 90, more than 2 progressive runs per 90, more than 15 forward passes per 90, and had plus 80% forward pass accuracy. And that was Frankie de Jong and Declan Rice. The 2 dream players I would bring to Manchester United, Frankie de Jong and Declan Rice, as a Man United fan. But we don't talk about de Jong at Man United anymore. But he has basically all the traits needed to be a modern midfielder. Plus, he has availability. He's never injured. Leadership. He's an absolute leader. Right now, for me, he's Arsenal's captain, even though he's not. He's got the IQ because he can read the game so well. He's so technically elite and he can make those runs off the ball, on the ball, positions himself so well. He's got work rate, he's got mentality, and he's got athleticism, which is something Saliba has as well, where you're just fast, you're strong. It's so hard for opponents to beat you. So when you're good in possession, you're good out of possession, you're good at the natural traits of your job, but then you're athletically just fast, physical. It makes you just one of them players that no one can beat. And why is he so good for Arsenal? So this is how Arteta kind of likes to play in possession. Right now, it's sort of the one on the left. He kind of likes in possession to go and have Zinchenko inverted to midfield and almost be like a 3-2-2-3, sort of, okay. And Declan Rice sort of is that number 6, but then he will have Zinchenko coming in and inverting, which gives Declan Rice the ability to push forward a little bit more, which is what he didn't do at West Ham. And you see him sort of making those runs and actually starting to be a little bit of a goal threat, score goals in big games. I think long-term plan, he could even play as an 8. I think he's Arsenal's only player that could probably play as a second phase 8 right now. And I think because Havertz hasn't really hit the ground running, they might need that. And I think Partey coming back into the 6th role, Declan Rice could progress even further forward. And you've also got to remember that there's a strong chance that Julian Timber will invert in midfield as well and potentially partner Rice or partner Partey, and Rice goes further up. But Rice has the versatility to play as a 6 or an 8. I think when Partey's back, we could see Rice go further up the pitch. I think he's best as a 6. I think he's better than Partey as a 6. But I also think he's the only guy in that Arsenal squad that could be a second phase 8 when Havertz has been weak, Vieira's been weak. And I don't think they properly replace Xhaka at Arsenal. Continuing on. So, what makes Declan Rice unreal? In those big games like Man United, Man City, he was tasked with covering a lot of the ground. And that was to stop the opposition progressing. Man United really struggled to get by Arsenal because Declan Rice was there, cutting out the passing lanes, forcing United to go long, go wide, lose the ball more. Arsenal bring back the ball. Arsenal win the ball more. Arsenal have more possession. Arsenal have more control. This also worked in a massive game against Manchester City, but obviously they didn't have Rodri. But Man City were really struggling the ball. They could not get the ball to Haaland at all. And you can give Saliba credit, but you also have to give the role of Declan Rice credit. Declan Rice is there just cutting out the opponent's passing lane. He's very positionally aware. He knows where the space is. He knows where the opposition's players are around him. And the way he positions himself, it makes it really hard for opponents to really sort of break through Arsenal's defensive lines. He makes it harder for teams to hit Arsenal on a counter-attack, which is something they were a little bit susceptible to last season. They conceded a lot more goals last season, especially when Saliba got injured. And Declan Rice also gives Arsenal that much needed protection so they can attack more. We look at Declan Rice's ball progression and ball carrying statistics right now against Man United. He was just in a league as his own for progressing the ball, carrying the ball. You look at his forward passes. He's not just great at covering ground in those big games, but he's also great at progressing the ball, starting off the Arsenal moves. It's like Declan Rice gets the ball, he starts off the move, he collects the ball from the setback and he brings the move all the way to the final third for Arsenal in those big games. Now, Rice has always been above the average midfielder, going back to why Arteta wanted him. Data and Praise proved the statistic for an average midfielder, and they proved it for Rice. The one area he lacks is key passes, but he is playing as a 6 with 2 8s above him. That is not his role at Arsenal. But you can see progressive passes, forward passes, all of these kind of carrying defensive actions duels, he's way above the average midfielder. And he's only going to get better because he's being evolved under Arteta. You know, he's improving the attacking side of his game. He's really influencing Arsenal attack. Not only is he that defensive guy to shut down counterattacks, he starts off the Arsenal attack, gets the ball from the centre-backs, does these quick 1-2s, can do these long balls, can break the lines, can progress the ball. He's heavily involved because he has the ability to play as an 8. He has the traits, the physical IQ to potentially play as an 8 or a second phase 8, but he is majority a 6 because Partey has been injured. He can just bring the ball so well with those short, quick passes, the line-breaking passes, long passes, dribble the ball. He can get the ball from the centre-backs to the attack. He almost starts off Arsenal attacks. And even when Arsenal lose, as I spoke about earlier, you see his game numbers versus Newcastle. I think Arsenal are really poor. There is Declan Rice winning his duels, completing 4 long balls, doing 5 ball recoveries, 5 clearances, 26 final third passes, 2 out of 2 dribbles completed. But no one Arsenal around him did that. And I've always said he is the guy in the Arsenal midfield. And maybe Arsenal need to find better people to complement him in the midfield. That's what I've said. I think that Douglas Luiz will complement Declan Rice even better and he'll get even better. But you can see the well-roundedness of Declan Rice compared to Odegaard, who is having a poor season. He's not at his best. I'm sure Odegaard will improve. And Kai Havertz, who's a bit hit and miss at Arsenal. You can see that Declan Rice is the midfield for Arsenal right now. And his percentile statistics aren't crazy high. I mean, interceptions 92nd percentile, but you've got to remember Arsenal don't defend as much as other teams, whose defensive ones aren't going to be as much. But on the ball, progressive passes, progressive carries, he's in that 82nd percentile, very high. So this is us wrapping up the video, sort of. We're going to talk a little bit about Douglas Luiz as well. Why is he so good? Because he's versatile. He can play as a 6, as an 8. He covers lots of ground. He has the elite athleticism to just run and run and run. His stamina, the ground he covers is so important. This is why, as a United fan, we've had a lot of problems because Casemiro and Eriksen cannot cover the ground other midfielders can, and we get overrun. He cuts out the passing lanes. His interceptions is the top tier. He stops counter-attacking. He's physical. He's fast. He's hard to beat. He can pick the ball off the centre-backs, progress the ball well. He can get the attack moving and ticking for Arsenal. He's involved in every single phase of play. He's Arteta's Rodri. I think if he got an injury, Arsenal would be in trouble. They would, like Saliba, they would be in trouble. He's got the leadership. For me, he feels like Arsenal's leader. He's consistent and he's always available. And availability is one of the best things in football. And AFC John Wick said this: Arteta wants Douglas Luiz, who can carry the ball's press resistance, physicality, technicality. He could be the perfect 8 to play alongside Declan Rice, because I don't think Havertz quite works in that midfield for Arsenal. I may be wrong. Arteta has a plan. He knows more than me. But I think Douglas Luiz would benefit Declan Rice. Anyway, let me know your thoughts on the video. Smash a like, smash a subscribe. See you next time. Bye.